Hey, it's Soul with a video. Please help feed the algorithm by liking the video. And today, as usual, I want to talk about the World of Warcraft. But right now, you're not looking at the World of Warcraft, you're looking at New World, the buy-to-play MMO from Amazon Studios, where you get dropped into a strange new land and, you do stuff. New World isn't the sort of game to compare alongside the World of Warcraft though, they're different from the ground up. From the controls, to progression, to the fact that New World has player housing. Yeah, I just had to throw a jab at that one. But today I want to talk about one of New World's greatest strengths, an immersive outdoor world, and see how this can translate into feedback to help improve the World of Warcraft. New World has a few threads to help steer players into different areas of its very, very big game world, and they're pretty easy to understand. There's a main story quest that'll take you from humble beginnings all the way to the max level zones. Local quest lines will take you around a zone to explore each of its areas. Faction and bulletin board quests constantly refresh, pulling you all over these areas. This, however, is not one of New World's greatest strengths. Frankly, these connecting threads to content are minimalist, maybe a little bit boring because you're always doing the same thing. You're looting boxes for stuff, you're killing bad guys, or, and here's a crazy one, killing bad guys for stuff. It's crazy. Where New World shines, and this is my opinion, are the non-structured parts of its gameplay, and that's with gathering and crafting. In New World, you already have numerous gathering and trade skills that you can immediately apply out in the world. All you need is a working tool, and the earliest parts of the game will give you everything that you need. Suddenly, the gathering and crafting game opens up, and the world suddenly feels very different, unlike anything that you'd see in World of Warcraft. What you see here isn't just a very pretty environment. Most everything that you see here can be picked, or chopped, or mined, or skinned. You've just got to walk up to it and click. The accessibility can leave one drunk with opportunity like, ooh, can this giant tree go down? Yep. Can this big-ass rock be picked? Oh yeah. All these bushes and plants and hemp. Oh baby, glorious, glorious hemp. Your only worry is your inventory space, and it can easily fill up after knocking down a few trees and boulders. Crafting stations are at the main hub in each zone. The vast majority of crafting is not done on the field, unfortunately. And without getting too much into the nitty-gritty, crafting stations have their own levels, and players on the server contribute towards this, so there's this feeling of towns becoming more prosperous than others. I want to focus on the gathering though. It's such a simple but thoughtful mix of immersion and gameplay. Nodes are everywhere, and they're huge. They're built into the environment. They straight up blot out the sun. And on your quest to get that mining node, you might end up halfway getting killed. I love that these gathering nodes and bushes and whatnot, they're built into the environment. You're surrounded by these things that you can pick, and you can choose to pick it or not. I've spent hours doing nothing but mining up materials and hauling it back to town to process random stuff to sell on the auction house. To be honest, I had no idea what I was doing. I still have no idea what I'm doing, but it just feels really good. And I'm getting plenty of skill ups and experience doing it. Now, it might be too much to ask for giant trees and fields of herbs to pick in the World of Warcraft. I think there's a simple takeaway from this that a game like WoW can pick up from. And it's that you're not restricted to what gathering skills you have because you already have all of them. In World of Warcraft, I could be a miner and a skinner, but I can't gather herbs. If I want to, I have to forget how to gather something else. I think that's sort of dumb. I can sort of get the pseudo-realism in only knowing one or two crafting professions at once, but I think World of Warcraft is at a point where it's not really the end of the world to be a blacksmith, a jewel crafter, and a miner. Meanwhile, everybody can fish, and cook, and dig for ancient artifacts. In a game like Final Fantasy XIV, at least you can have all the crafting and gathering jobs at once, but even they handle this very strangely, like with needing to change your outfit, and you're suddenly very weak unless you turn on a super stealth ability. It's like being a powerful warrior and a skilled crafter or gatherer are all mutually exclusive, which makes professions there feel unimmersive, at least to me. There have been numerous suggestions over the years that characters ought to be able to learn more than two primary professions, or to in fact redefine what primary and secondary professions mean in the World of Warcraft. New World is just the most recent example of how this can work in practice, and I'm writing this feeling of envy into a video for you today. What I'd like to see WoW pick up from New World is a similar methodology. The ability for all characters to mine, gather herbs, and skin mobs as a secondary profession, while still leaving room to learn 2 primary professions. Maybe more, but that's a different discussion. A world where we switch to characters just for the sake of gathering, I think that's okay, but I also think it's unnecessary. In fact, Blizzard did explore this concept earlier with the Warlords of Draenor Garrison, which included a mine, a garden, and a barn to give players access to these resources without the need of a dedicated gatherer. And what I'm proposing here is that we just bring it back, and instead of a centralized private zone where players could gather, the entire world opens up, with all the player interaction/friction that comes with it. This begs the question of if there can still be gathering as a primary profession, and the answer to that is maybe. Here's an example. Right now in Shadowlands we have 2 kinds of Desolate Leather. There's the Desolate Leather, and there's Heavy Desolate Leather, which is 10 leather smushed into 1. I can envision regular players with regular gathering skills having a very rare chance of obtaining heavy leather, while specialized gatherers have a greater chance of obtaining this leather, making them more efficient gatherers. And here's a different approach. Maybe specialized gathering is required to obtain certain rare materials that otherwise cannot be found by regular gatherers. So what sort of difference should there be? Should specialized gatherers be more efficient, or should they have access to materials that others don't? It could really go either way, but I just want to get the gears turning in your guys' heads because there's a lot to consider. Having gathering accessible for all might have a big economic impact on players who are suddenly less dependent on having specific characters or other players to fulfill their material needs. One thing to rebalance would be the amount of materials obtained and the material costs of crafted goods. New World uses a pretty deep crafting system that consumes massive quantities of gathered materials, unlike, say, today's Shadowlands, where a few stacks of ore will get you to max level blacksmithing, but you're going to need an insane amount of materials to level up your legendary crafting skills. There's an inconsistency there that needs a better approach from the planning stages, and I'm confident that there's a balance that can be struck. Looking at the big picture, I would love to see a World of Warcraft where characters, not players but characters, can feel more independent. I'd want that feeling I get from New World where I leave town and I immediately see something interesting to skin, or pick, or mine, almost to a point where I can take its presence for granted. Or I want to feel more powerful with my skills as a specialized gatherer who can skin, pick, or mine better than the rest of them. And that's all I got for now. I've been wanting to leave this sort of feedback since New World launch, and I finally got around to it. But I want to leave you with one last little brain exercise. Do you folks think that skinning would be harder to pull off with an idea like this? I mean, consider how the mobs despawn after skinning is done. Do you think that's going to be a problem? I mean, maybe skins should be treated like herbs and ore, which despawn after a little while instead of instantly. So feel free to chime in with a comment. Of course, if this video was at all entertaining or thought-provoking, leave a like and subscribe for more content. And I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.